Story is my dad and Uncle Frank and Uncle Ed, those were two of his brothers-in-law, went fishing up to Lake Alice. They were in the old cars, those 40s cars or whatever they were. And when you go up there, you cross a lot of little streams, so the brakes get wet. And a lot of times the brakes won't even work after you've been crossing those streams for a while. When they were coming out, they come to the top of this, come up Sam's Creek, up to the top of the road, and then they start going downhill for the next couple of miles. And just a little ways down, there's a gate that, there's a fence that goes across that area. There's a gate so people can go through the gate. And as they were heading down, they knew that they couldn't stop.
Because the brakes were wet?
As they approached the gate, and there was somebody that was there and opened the gate, and when they got back down to the bottom of the hill, they didn't see his car or anything, so they were gonna check on him and see if they could give him a ride home or whatever. They could never find him.
So they
Well,
were
the
coming
gate-
down without brakes.
Without brakes, they
They
come
were
in
gonna
down.
hit the gate.
And it was a wood gate, so it would have really messed up the car, and they might have wrecked bad or something, I don't know.
And
That-
between the
that's the
three of them, how
purpose.
many kids did they have?
But
Between the three of them, how many kids did
Uncle
they
Ed
have?
had 13, we had 8, and Aunt Nancy had 8,
So a huge group of kids who were meeting their dads.
29.
That was a,
That's the part I was telling my kids. I said, "This is like Cokeville. They would know who that person is. There's no way someone's like, some rando
And he-
guys in the city that they don't recognize."
why would he just be standing right there at the gate,
And opening
open
a
it
gate.
up, when the brakes wouldn't stop, drove through, and then shut the gate, and they
Yeah.
never found him?
Well, because we were reading about the three Nephites, and it was talking about how their goal was missionary work. That was their mandate. And
Yeah.
so,
This
whenever you
doesn't
hear like
affect-
a three Nephi story, it's like, does this affect missionary work? Well, yeah, these are dads, and they had kids, and they were serving missions, and so.
29 kids.
Moroni talks about visiting with 3 Nephites when he was all by himself.
Moroni Dayton?
No, Moroni.
Oh, okay. I was like, for saying that, I was like, whoa, that's another family one. There's one, and Dad will have to correct me, but there's one that happened to Elmo, and I don't know if this is 3 Nephite or not, but there's one that happened to Elmo, and he was in his sheep camp, because he would be way outside of Cokeville, way up the Smiths Fork Valley, same area, and they would have a sheep camp, and the sheep camp's that little thing, it looks like a covered wagon that you could pull behind the truck, and the sheep herders even today will use those sheep camps.
Yeah.
And the story that I had heard, and I even tried to clarify this with Aunt Barb, was Elmo was up there, had been up there by himself, and he would be up there for a week at a time or weeks at a time, and he'd be up there for a long time. And one day, some random guy showed up at his sheep camp and says, "Hey, can I have breakfast? Or do you have food? Or can I have food for breakfast?" Something like that. And Elmo was nice and said yes, and you can have. And they sat down, they had breakfast together.
Well, he said, I want to do something to help for my breakfast. Could I chop or do something? And Granddad said that there's some wood out there that needs to be chopped. You could be doing that. So
Where are you going?
he chopped wood while Granddad finished fixing breakfast. And they had breakfast, and then the guy got up and excused himself. And he went out, and the guy had chopped up the whole pile of wood. There's no way he thought anybody could do that much wood in that short period of time. So I don't know.
And the
what
guy
that-
was where?
he was gone.
Which is saying something because Elmo was the one who was really known as the hard worker and had a real work ethic. So if he surprised Elmo with the amount of work that he did in a short amount of time, that's
And
very telling.
And disappeared.
And I wonder why that. And I would love to know what they talked about, or if Elmo caught his name, or if he asked his name, because Elmo was not as active, from what I understand,
he was
not as
never
active as
active.
Grandpa Dayton was.
He was never active.
Uncle Tom family has a documented experience of a man coming to their house at night, of his grandfather's house, and I wish I could remember that his first name starts with an O, but it was
Adolphus. I remember the story.
Adolphus Perry. And the man came to visit him and asked if he could stay, which was not uncommon in those days. People traveled and you see a house and somebody will let you eat and spend the night. And he quoted to them from the Book of Mormon. They didn't have a Book of Mormon. He
Hadn't
quoted
been
told
published
them-
yet.
Right, he quoted to them passages of scripture from the Book of Mormon. They were very intrigued by it, and he told them that it was true. And then he stayed the night there, and the next morning he was gone, and there was fresh snow, and there were no tracks or anything. It wasn't, it was later on somebody came along and had the book that he had quoted from.
That one I do believe. That's a 3 Nephi story right there.